The morning comes slowly to the Italian countryside. A pale light spreads across the fields, touching the tops of olive trees, rolling gently over low hills and narrow paths worn by years of travel. There is no urgency in the air, no sign, yet, of war, only the quiet rhythm of daily life. Farmers move through their fields, checking soil, tending to animals, speaking softly among themselves as the day begins. But beneath this calm, something has already changed. Far away, in the city of Rome, a decision has been made. And when Rome decides, the countryside listens, not all at once, not loudly, but gradually, like a ripple spreading across still water. Messengers begin their journey. They do not ride in a frantic rush. There are no desperate warnings. Instead, they travel steadily, moving from town to town, carrying with them a simple message. Rome is calling. The Levy has begun. In each village, word spreads quietly, passed from neighbor to neighbor, spoken in low voices in marketplaces, shared between families at the end of the day. Some men nod when they hear it. They expected this. Others grow silent, their thoughts turning inward, because this call is not optional. In the Roman Republic, military service is not a choice. It is a duty, a responsibility tied to citizenship itself. To be Roman is to serve. Slowly, men begin to prepare, not as soldiers yet, but as individuals. They gather simple belongings, a cloak, perhaps, for cold nights, basic tools, small items carried out of habit rather than necessity. Some take food prepared carefully by their families, bread, dried goods, things that will last. There is no uniform waiting for them, no standardized equipment, not yet. At this stage, they are still farmers, craftsmen, sons. But that is beginning to change. In homes across the countryside, quiet moments unfold. A father speaks with his son, explaining what lies ahead, not with fear, but with calm certainty. A mother prepares food, carefully, deliberately. Her movements slow, measured, familiar. There are no dramatic farewells, no grand speeches. Only the understanding that this has happened before, many times, over many generations. This is part of life in Rome. And so, one by one, men begin to leave. They step onto roads that lead toward designated gathering points. Some walk alone. Others travel in small groups, joined by neighbors or friends. Their pace is unhurried. There is time. There is always time in the beginning. The roads fill gradually, not crowded, not chaotic. Just a steady movement, a quiet flow of individuals heading in the same direction, each man carrying his own thoughts. Some think of duty, others think of home. Some imagine what lies ahead, while others choose not to. The sun rises higher, the day warms, and still, they walk. Because before a Roman army can exist, before shields are raised, before formations take shape, there must first be this moment, this slow beginning. This quiet gathering of ordinary men, and as they move closer to their destination, as the distance behind them grows, and the future ahead becomes clearer, the next stage begins. By the time the men arrive, the gathering has already begun. Open fields outside towns, wide, empty spaces, slowly fill with small clusters of individuals. There is no shouting, no immediate organization, just groups forming naturally. Men standing together, waiting, observing. Some recognize familiar faces, neighbors, distant relatives. Others they have only seen in passing before. Quiet conversations begin, soft voices, low tones, as men share what little they know. How long will they serve? Where will they go? No one is entirely certain. At the edges of the field, Roman officials begin to appear. Their presence is calm, controlled, deliberate. They do not rush the process. Everything in Rome, especially in matters of war, follows a system, a structure built over time, refined through generations. The men are called forward, not all at once, but gradually. Names are recorded, details are noted. Each individual is no longer just a person, but part of something being assembled. This is the beginning of transformation. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the identity of each man begins to shift. From civilian to recruit, from individual to component. The process is not dramatic. There are no sudden changes. Only small steps, repeated again and again. Men are observed carefully, their age, their physical condition, their readiness. Rome does not take everyone equally. There are expectations, standards that must be met, because this is not just a gathering of men, it is the foundation of an army. Some are accepted immediately, others are questioned, evaluated more closely, a few may be turned away, their service delayed, or denied. But for most, the path continues forward. As the day passes, the field changes. What began as scattered individuals slowly becomes something more organized. Groups form with greater purpose. Lines begin to appear, not strict, not rigid, but present. The shape of structure begins to emerge, and with it, a subtle shift in atmosphere. Still calm, still quiet, but more focused now, more directed. The men begin to understand, without needing to be told, that they are part of something larger, something that extends beyond their village, beyond their daily lives, something that belongs to Rome itself. Time moves slowly, the sun begins its descent, shadows stretch across the ground, long and soft, blending into one another. The sounds of the field remain gentle. Footsteps, low voices, the occasional movement of equipment. Nothing sharp, nothing sudden, because this is only the beginning. There is no urgency yet, no pressure of battle, only preparation, careful, methodical, unhurried. And as the first day draws to a close, as the men settle into this new reality, they stand at the edge of transformation. They have answered the call, they have gathered, and now, step by step, they will be shaped into something else entirely, something disciplined, something structured, something Roman. And as the night begins to fall, and the field grows quiet once more, the next stage is already waiting. The night settles gently over the gathering fields. The last light of the sun fades slowly beyond the horizon, leaving behind a soft glow that lingers in the sky before giving way to darkness. Fires begin to appear, small at first, scattered points of warmth across the open land, then more and more, until the field is dotted with quiet flames, flickering steadily in the cool night air. The men sit beside them, some alone, staring into the fire, watching the slow movement of embers. Others in small groups, speaking quietly, their voices low, almost blending into the soft sounds of the night. There is no chaos, no fear, only a calm, steady acceptance, because for a Roman citizen, this moment is not unfamiliar. It is part of something much older, much deeper. To understand how a Roman army is raised, one must first understand the Roman citizen. In Rome, citizenship is not simply a title. It is not just a privilege, it is a bond, a connection between the individual and the state, a relationship built on expectation, on obligation, on duty. From a young age, Roman boys are taught this idea, not through grand speeches, but through everyday life. They watch their fathers, their older brothers, men who have already answered the call, perhaps more than once. They hear stories, told not as legends, but as memories. Simple accounts of marches, of camps, of long days under the sun. There is little embellishment, little need for drama, because the act itself is enough. To serve Rome is to fulfill one's role. And so, as these men sit beneath the night sky, they are not stepping into something unknown. They are continuing something that has been passed down, generation after generation. The fire crackles softly. A man adjusts his cloak, pulling it closer against the cool air. Another leans back, resting on his hands, eyes fixed upward. Above them, the sky stretches wide and endless, filled with stars, silent, unchanging, much like the expectations placed upon them. In Rome, military service is tied closely to identity. It defines what it means to be a citizen. To refuse it is not simply to avoid hardship. It is to step outside the structure of Roman life itself. And so, most do not refuse, not because they are forced in chains, but because they understand. This is their place, their role within the larger whole. The concept is simple, but powerful. Rome gives structure, protection, order. In return, the citizen gives service, a balance maintained over time, carefully, deliberately. Near one of the fires, an older man speaks. His voice is steady, calm, shaped by experience. He has served before, It shows in the way he speaks, the way others listen. He describes the marches, long distances, taken one step at a time, the weight of equipment, carried not in haste, but in rhythm, the construction of camps, each one built with precision, even after exhausting days. There is no attempt to impress, no exaggeration, only quiet truth, and the younger men listen, not with excitement, but with focus, absorbing each detail, because soon it will be their experience too. The firelight shifts, casting soft shadows across their faces. Time passes, slowly, almost unnoticed, because in this moment, there is nothing to rush toward. The army is not yet formed, the structure is not yet complete, they exist in between, no longer fully civilians, but not yet soldiers, a quiet space of transition. Across the field, similar scenes unfold, dozens of fires, dozens of conversations, all following the same rhythm, the same calm pace. This is how Rome begins, not with noise, not with urgency, but with understanding, with acceptance, with duty. And as the night deepens, as voices grow quieter, and one by one, the men begin to rest, the idea settles fully into place. They are here because they must be, because this is what it means to belong to Rome. And in the morning, that understanding will begin to take form. The first light of dawn returns slowly, soft, gradual, spreading across the horizon in pale shades of gold and gray. The fires have burned low. Most are now only embers, faintly glowing, releasing thin trails of smoke into the cool morning air. The men begin to stir, not all at once, not abruptly, but gradually, as if waking is simply another part of the same slow rhythm. Some sit up quietly, adjusting their cloaks. Others stand, stretching, looking out across the field. There is no command given, no signal required. The movement happens naturally, because discipline, in Rome, begins long before formal training. It begins in habit, in expectation, in the quiet understanding of what must be done. As the light grows stronger, the scale of the gathering becomes clearer. What seemed scattered in the night, now reveals its shape. Lines of men, groups forming with subtle order, spaces between them, deliberate, functional. It is not yet an army, but it is no longer just a collection of individuals. It is becoming something structured, and at the heart of that structure is duty. In the Roman world, duty is not spoken of loudly. It is not declared again and again. It simply exists, a constant presence, guiding behavior, shaping decisions. The men do not ask why they are here. That question has already been answered, long before this moment. Instead, they focus on what comes next, on the steps that will follow, because duty is not about questioning. It is about action. A group of officials moves through the field. Their pace is steady, their movements precise. They carry tablets, recording names, organizing the growing force. Each interaction is brief, efficient, purposeful. The system is beginning to take hold, and the men respond to it, almost instinctively. They stand when addressed, they listen, they follow simple instructions, without hesitation, not because they are trained soldiers, but because this behavior has been part of their lives for years. In Rome, order is learned early, in the home, in the streets, in the way society itself is structured. And now, that same order is being applied here, on a larger scale. The sun rises higher, light spreads fully across the field, revealing details that were hidden in shadow. Clothing of different colors and styles, simple tools carried at the waist, faces marked by age, or youth, or experience. Each man is different, and yet, they are being brought together, into a single system. This is one of Rome's greatest strengths, the ability to take individuals, and shape them into something unified, not through force alone, but through consistency, through repetition, through shared understanding. Near the center of the field, a small group gathers. Their discussion is quiet, but focused. They speak of numbers, of organization, of how these men will be divided, arranged, assigned. Because raising an army is not just about gathering people. It is about structure, about placing each part exactly where it belongs. The process continues, slowly, carefully. There is no wasted motion, no unnecessary action. Everything serves a purpose, everything moves toward a clear end. and the men, whether they fully realize it or not, are already part of that process. They wait when waiting is required. They move when movement is needed. They adapt, without resistance, because the concept of duty carries them forward. It removes uncertainty. It replaces hesitation with quiet acceptance. And in doing so, it allows the system to function smoothly. Time passes. The morning shifts toward midday. The air warms, the sounds of the field grow slightly more active, but never loud, never chaotic, always controlled, always measured, because this is how Rome operates, step by step, layer by layer, building slowly, but with purpose. And as this foundation settles into place, as duty transforms from an idea into a lived reality, the next stage begins to emerge: selection, evaluation, the careful process of deciding who will stand, and where. But for now, the men remain where they are, standing in the growing light, part of something that is no longer abstract, no longer distant, but real, and steadily, quietly, becoming an army. The morning has fully settled over the field. The light is no longer soft and pale, but steady, clear, revealing everything without shadow. What was once a quiet gathering has now taken on a more deliberate shape. The men stand in loose formations, arranged not by strict command, but by gentle direction. Subtle movements guide them. A gesture here, a quiet instruction there. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. And yet, the order continues to grow, because now, the next stage has begun. The Levi. In Rome, the Levi is not chaotic. It is not a desperate call to gather as many men as possible. It is a process, carefully developed, refined over generations, designed to turn a population into a structured fighting force. At the far end of the field, a space has been cleared, not dramatically, not marked by banners or barriers, just an open area where the ground lies flat, and the view is unobstructed. Here, the officials gather: magistrates, officers, men who understand the system, and know how to apply it. They do not raise their voices. They do not command attention through force. Instead, attention comes naturally, because their role is recognized, their authority understood. One by one, the men are called forward, not in large groups, but individually, or in small numbers. Each step toward the center is quiet, measured, the sound of sandals against the earth. Soft, steady, almost rhythmic. When a man arrives, he does not speak immediately. He waits, because this moment is not about expression. It is about assessment. The officials observe him, carefully, not quickly, not casually, but with intention. They look at his posture, his build, the way he stands, the way he carries himself. Strength is important, but so is composure. Endurance matters, but so does discipline. In Rome, a soldier is not simply a fighter. He is part of a system, and that system depends on reliability, consistency, control. Questions may be asked, but they are simple, direct. There is no interrogation, only confirmation. Name, background, previous service, if any. The answers are recorded, quietly, methodically, on wax tablets held in practiced hands. There is no hurry. Each man is given the same attention, because each man will become a part of something larger, and every part must fit. As the process continues, the rhythm becomes clear. Step forward, pause, observation, recording, then movement again, either to one side or another. The meaning of these movements is not always explained. It does not need to be. The structure is forming, even if it is not yet visible to all. Some men are directed to stand together, others are spaced apart. Subtle divisions begin to appear. At first, they seem random, but over time, a pattern emerges. Age groups, physical capability, experience. Each factor plays a role. Each decision builds toward a final arrangement. The sun moves slowly across the sky. Its warmth settles over the field, steady, unchanging. And still, the process continues. There is no fatigue in the system, no impatience, because this is how Rome ensures strength, not through speed, but through precision, through attention to detail. Near the edges of the field, those who have already been assessed wait quietly. They do not speak much. There is little need. Each man is aware, in his own way, that something has shifted, They are no longer simply responding to a call, they are being placed, positioned, prepared, and though the final shape is not yet clear, the direction is unmistakable. The army is beginning to take form, slowly, carefully, without noise, without urgency, only process, only structure. And as more men step forward, as more names are recorded, as more quiet decisions are made, the field transforms, from open space to organized presence, from gathering to selection, from individuals to components. And still, the work is not complete, because selection is only the beginning. Beyond it lies assignment, training, discipline. But for now, everything remains here, in this steady rhythm, this quiet evaluation, this careful shaping of what will soon become a Roman army. And as the sun continues its slow journey overhead, and the line of men moves forward, one by one, the process continues, unchanged, uninterrupted, guided only by the calm, deliberate hand of Rome. The line of men grows shorter, not quickly, not noticeably at first, but gradually, as one by one each individual steps forward and is received into the system. The process has been ongoing for hours, and yet it has not lost its rhythm. It continues, steady, measured, unchanged, because consistency is what gives it strength. Those who have already been assessed now stand in their assigned places. Groups that once seemed uncertain now begin to take on clearer form. The spaces between them more deliberate, the arrangement more purposeful. It is still quiet, still calm, but no longer undefined. The first signs of structure are settling into place. At the center of the field, the officials remain focused. Their work is not finished. If anything, it is becoming more precise, because now the decisions they make will carry greater weight. It is no longer only about who is accepted. It is about where each man belongs. A subtle shift moves through the gathered men. Not spoken, not announced, but felt. They begin to notice their position in relation to others. Who stands beside them? Who stands ahead or behind? Small details that begin to form a larger picture, because in the Roman system, placement is never random. Every position has purpose, every grouping, intention. Men of similar age and strength are drawn together, those with prior experience, quietly recognized, sometimes placed slightly apart, sometimes given subtle preference, not elevated in any obvious way, but acknowledged. Because experience, though not loudly praised, is always valued. A group of younger men stands near the edge of one formation. Their posture is attentive, but not yet settled. They glance occasionally at one another, as if trying to understand the pattern, to see where they fit. Nearby, older men stand with more stillness, their movements minimal, their attention focused forward. The difference is not dramatic, but it is there, a quiet contrast, shaped by time and familiarity. The officials move between these forming groups, not hurried, not distracted, each step deliberate, each decision made with care. They adjust positions, refine arrangements, sometimes calling a man forward again, only to place him elsewhere, with no explanation given. And yet, no one resists, no one questions, because by now, the system has made itself understood. It does not need to explain itself. It only needs to continue. The sun begins to lower in the sky. Its light softens slightly, casting longer shadows across the field. The heat of the day begins to ease, but the work goes on, unbroken, unchanged, because this stage must be completed fully. There can be no gaps, no uncertainty. An army cannot be built on approximation. It must be exact. Gradually, the last few men step forward. Their turn arrives as quietly as all the others before them. They are observed, recorded, placed, and then the line is gone. The open space at the center of the field grows still. No more footsteps approach. No more names are called. Only the soft movement of officials, making final adjustments, looking over what has been created. Because now, for the first time, the army can be seen, not in armor, not in formation, but in structure. Groups of men, standing in ordered arrangement, each part connected, though not yet fully aware of how. The beginnings of units, though they are not yet called such. The early shape of something disciplined, something controlled, something Roman. A quiet stillness settles over the field, different from before, not the stillness of waiting, but the stillness of completion, of a stage finished, carefully, completely. The men stand where they have been placed. There is less movement now, less uncertainty, because something has shifted within them. They are no longer simply individuals who answered a call. They have been chosen, assigned, positioned. They belong, not just to Rome, but to a part of its army, even if they do not yet fully understand what that means. Near the center, the officials gather once more. Their discussion is brief. Low voices, measured words. There is no celebration, no declaration, only acknowledgement. The work has been done. The levee is complete, but this is only the beginning, because what stands on this field now is not yet a legion. It is not yet trained, not yet unified, not yet ready. It is a foundation, carefully laid, patiently constructed, and from this foundation, everything else will rise. Discipline, skill, cohesion, strength, all of it begins here, with this quiet process, this methodical selection, this careful shaping of individuals into something more. The sun continues its descent, the light fades slowly, and as evening approaches once again, the field holds something new, not just men, but the early form of an army, waiting, ready, for the next step. The evening fades slowly into night, and then, without urgency, night gives way once more to morning. Time passes differently here, measured not by clocks, but by routine, by repetition, by the steady rhythm of action and rest. When the first light returns, the field is no longer a place of gathering. It has changed, subtly, but completely. What once held scattered groups of men, now holds something more defined, more controlled. The early shape of order is becoming visible. The men rise again, as they did before, not all at once, not at a signal, but gradually, almost instinctively, because already, a pattern is forming, a routine that will soon become familiar. They stand where they have been placed, groups now more consistent, more stable. There is less wandering, less uncertainty. Each man remains close to his assigned position, as if the ground itself has marked where he belongs. Across the field, Roman instructors begin to appear. They are not introduced, they do not announce themselves, and yet, their presence is immediately understood. These are men who have served before, men who know what comes next. Their movements are precise, economical. There is no wasted energy. They walk among the groups, observing quietly, saying little, because instruction in Rome does not begin with words. It begins with example. One of them steps forward into an open space. He does not raise his voice. He simply stands, steady, composed, and then, slowly, he moves. A single step forward, firm, controlled, followed by another, and another. The motion is simple, but deliberate, measured in pace, consistent in distance. It is marching, not fast, not forceful, but steady, the kind of movement that can continue 4 miles without breaking. The men watch, silently, their attention drawn not by command, but by the clarity of the action itself. Another instructor joins, then another, each demonstrating the same motion, the same pace, the same rhythm. There is no variation, no improvisation, because consistency is the foundation of discipline. After a time, the men begin to follow, not perfectly, not all at once, but gradually, step by step. They imitate what they see, a foot forward, a pause, then the next, the ground beneath them soft, slightly uneven, but the rhythm remains, slow, steady, repeated. At first, there are differences. Some steps too long, others too short, some movements uncertain, but the instructors do not rush to correct. They allow the repetition to settle, because through repetition, the body begins to learn, more effectively than through words. The sound of movement spreads across the field, soft, uniform, a quiet pattern of footsteps, rising and falling, again and again. There is something calming in it, a rhythm that does not change, that does not surprise, only continues. The sun rises higher, light spreads across the training ground, and still, they march, forward, pause, the same motion, repeated without end. Time begins to blur. Moments blend together, because nothing sudden interrupts the flow, nothing breaks the pattern. And this is intentional. In Rome, discipline is not built through intensity alone. It is built through endurance, through the ability to continue, long after the mind begins to drift. After marching, comes stillness. The instructors stop, without command, without signal, and one by one, the men stop as well. The silence returns, gently, naturally. There is no heavy breathing, no collapse, only standing, waiting, because even rest is part of the process. After a time, a new motion begins, simple again, controlled, the raising of the arm, not quickly, not sharply, but smoothly, to a consistent height, then lowering, again and again. The men follow, their movements slower now, more deliberate, each repetition reinforcing the last. This is not yet combat training, not yet the use of weapons. This is preparation, the shaping of the body, the alignment of movement, the creation of unity from many individuals. Because before a Roman soldier can fight, he must first move as part of something greater, not as one, but as many, acting together. The exercises continue. Step, pause, lift, lower, turn, pause, each motion simple, each repeated, until it becomes familiar, until it requires no thought. The instructors walk among them, making small adjustments, a slight correction of posture, a subtle shift of position, nothing abrupt, nothing disruptive, only guidance, quiet, consistent, patient. The sun continues its slow path across the sky, the warmth settles over the field, and still, the training continues, unbroken, unchanged, because this is how Rome builds its soldiers, not in moments of intensity, but in long stretches of repetition, in calm, controlled movement, in the steady shaping of habit. And as the hours pass, as the rhythm settles deeper into body and mind, the men begin to change, not visibly, not dramatically, but internally. Their movements become more aligned, more consistent, more unified. They are no longer simply following. They are beginning to become part of the system itself. And this is only the beginning, because soon the training will deepen, the movements will become more complex, the demands greater. But for now, everything remains simple, everything remains steady, a foundation carefully laid, one step at a time. The rhythm of movement does not end. It changes, slowly, almost imperceptibly, shifting from simple steps to something more deliberate. The men stand once more in their groups, their breathing steady, their posture more aligned than before. The repetition has already begun to shape them, not dramatically, but enough to be felt. Across the field, new objects are brought forward, not carried in haste, not distributed all at once, but introduced gradually, as everything is in this process. Bundles of wood, carefully prepared, smooth in some places, rough in others, cut to a shape that suggests purpose, but not yet precision. The instructors move among the men, placing these objects into waiting hands. One by one, each man receives one, a wooden sword, heavier than expected, deliberately so. Its weight rests in the hand, unfamiliar at first, pulling slightly at the arm, asking for adjustment. There is no explanation given, no instruction spoken aloud, only the quiet understanding that this is the next step. Alongside the wooden swords come shields, large, solid, constructed not for ease, but for endurance. They are heavier than those used in battle, built to demand more, to require effort, to strengthen through use. The men take them, slowly, adjusting their grip, feeling the balance, testing the weight without movement. Across the field, the sound changes, no longer only footsteps, now the soft contact of wood against wood, as some shift their hold, or rest the sword lightly against the shield. The instructors gather in front once more, their presence steady, unchanging. One of them steps forward, he raises the wooden sword, not quickly, not sharply, but with control. The motion is clear, deliberate. He brings it down, a single strike, measured, directed toward an unseen target. Then he resets, and does it again. The same motion, the same pace, the same controlled force. There is no flourish, no variation, only repetition. The men watch, their attention quiet, focused. Another instructor demonstrates, then another, each movement identical, because in Rome, technique is not personal, it is standardized, shared, repeated until it becomes universal. After a time, the men begin. Slowly, a sword lifts, hesitates, then falls. The strike is uneven, some too fast, some too weak, some misaligned, but the instructors do not intervene immediately. They allow the motion to unfold, to repeat, because correction comes more naturally, after the body has begun to understand the action. Again, the swords rise and fall, a soft rhythm begins, wood cutting through air, meeting resistance only in imagination. The shields remain steady, held close, providing balance, providing structure. The weight is noticeable now, arms begin to tire, not suddenly, but gradually, a slow awareness of effort. And yet, the movement continues, because this is the purpose, to build endurance, to create strength not in bursts, but over time. The instructors move quietly among them, adjusting angles, guiding posture, a hand placed briefly on a shoulder, to correct alignment, a slight repositioning of the wrist, nothing abrupt, nothing that breaks the rhythm, only small changes that refine the motion. The exercises expand, a step forward, followed by a strike, then a pause, then a return, again, and again, each sequence simple, each repeated without variation. The field fills with this new pattern: step, strike, pause, return. The sound remains soft, controlled, never chaotic, never overwhelming, because even in training, Rome values order above all. Time passes, the sun moves slowly overhead, the warmth of the day deepens, and still, the movements continue, unbroken, unrushed. The men begin to adapt, their strikes more consistent, their balance more stable. The shield no longer feels as foreign, the weight, still present, but manageable. The sword, no longer unfamiliar, but part of a repeating motion, embedded slowly into memory. There is no conversation, no distraction, only focus, quiet, steady, continuous, because through this repetition, something deeper is forming, not just skill, but instinct, the ability to act without hesitation, to move without thought, to respond as part of a system rather than as an individual. The instructors bring the session to a close, not with a command, but with stillness. They stop, and gradually, the men do the same. The final motions fade, the swords lower, the shields rest, silence returns, gently, naturally, as if it had never left. The men stand where they are, their arms heavy, but steady, their posture unchanged. There is no sense of completion, no clear end, only a pause, because this will continue, again and again, in the days to come. The same movements, the same rhythm, until they no longer feel like actions, but habits. And as the light begins to soften once more, as the day moves quietly toward evening, the transformation continues, unseen but constant, the making of a soldier, not through force, but through repetition, through patience, through time. The day settles into a quieter rhythm. The intensity of movement has passed, leaving behind a calm, steady stillness across the field. The men remain where they have been training, their bodies carrying the memory of repetition, their arms still faintly heavy from the weight of wood and shield. There is no urgency to begin again. Instead, a pause, a transition, because the next stage does not begin with motion, but with preparation. From the edges of the field, new figures approach, not instructors this time, not officials, but workers, men tasked with carrying something different, something that has been waiting until now. Behind them, carts roll slowly forward, wooden wheels turning with a soft, steady creak, pressing gently into the earth as they move. There is no rush in their arrival, each cart guided carefully, brought into position with quiet precision. The men watch, but do not move toward them. They remain still, because by now, they understand, everything will come in its time. The carts come to rest, one by one, forming a loose line across the field. For a moment, nothing happens. Only the faint sound of settling wood, and the soft shifting of leather as the loads adjust. Then, slowly, the coverings are pulled back, cloth lifted, folded aside, and beneath, the contents are revealed. Metal, dull in places, catching light in others. Surfaces worn smooth by handling, yet solid, dependable. Armor, not polished to brilliance, not designed to shine, but built to endure. Stacked carefully, piece by piece, layered in an order that reflects their use. Alongside them, belts, straps, coils of leather prepared with care, helmets, resting in rows. Their shape simple, functional, unmistakable. And among these, weapons. Not wood, not practiced tools, but real blades. Still sheathed, still quiet, waiting. The air shifts, almost imperceptibly, not with excitement, but with awareness. This is different. This is not preparation for training. This is the beginning of transformation. The instructors step forward once more, their presence unchanged. Calm, measured, they move between the carts, examining the equipment, adjusting positions, ensuring that everything is ready. There is no announcement, no signal, only a simple gesture, and the process begins. The men are called forward, not all at once, not in large numbers, but individually, or in small groups. Just as before, each step toward the carts is steady, unhurried, the sound of sandals against earth. Familiar now, part of the rhythm of the day. When a man reaches the cart, he pauses. He does not reach immediately, he waits, because this moment, like all others, follows a structure. An instructor stands nearby, observing, guiding, with minimal words. The first item is given, a belt, thick leather, firm but flexible. It is placed into the man's hands, its weight noticeable, its texture grounding. He secures it around his waist, adjusting it carefully, ensuring it sits correctly. There is no rush. Each step is deliberate. Then, another item, a piece of armor, lifted slowly, its weight greater than expected. It is positioned, resting against the body, secured with straps that must be tightened, one by one. The process is not simple. It requires attention, patience, and so, it is done slowly. The instructor watches, making small adjustments, a strap pulled tighter, a piece shifted slightly, until everything sits as it should. Across the field, the same process unfolds, repeated again and again, each man receiving the same items, each step followed in the same order, because uniformity is essential. The soundscape changes, soft metal touching metal, leather being drawn tight, buckles fastening with quiet clicks, nothing sharp, nothing sudden, only a steady layering of sound. As the equipment settles into place, the helmets come next, lifted carefully, placed upon the head, adjusted until they rest securely. The world changes slightly beneath them. Sound becomes more enclosed, more focused, vision slightly framed, a subtle shift in perception, and with it, a deeper sense of transformation. The swords are last, still sheathed, still silent. They are handed over with the same care, the same lack of ceremony, because in Rome, even the most important tools are treated with quiet consistency. The sword is attached to the belt, positioned precisely, not where it feels natural, but where it has been determined to be most effective. Everything has its place, everything follows a system. As the men step away from the carts, they are no longer as they were before. The change is not dramatic. There is no moment of realization, but it is there, felt in the weight they now carry, in the way they stand, in the quiet understanding that they are closer now to becoming soldiers. Across the field, more and more men take on this new form. The scattered appearance of civilians fades, replaced by something more uniform, more defined, more Roman. And still, the process continues, unbroken, unrushed, each man stepping forward, receiving, adjusting, becoming, until the field itself reflects the change. No longer a place of preparation, but a place of transformation. And as the last of the equipment is distributed, as the final straps are secured, and the carts begin to empty, the next stage begins to approach, because wearing the equipment is only the beginning. Understanding it, moving with it, becoming accustomed to its weight, that comes next. The field grows still again, but it is not the same stillness as before. Something has changed. The men stand where they have been placed, but now they carry more than themselves. The weight of armor rests across their shoulders. Straps press gently against the body, tightened just enough to hold, but never fully forgotten. Belts sit firm at the waist. Helmets enclose the head, softening sound, narrowing focus. And at their side, the quiet presence of a real blade. For a time, no one moves. Not because they are told to remain still, but because movement itself has become something new. The body adjusts, slowly, subtly, each man becoming aware of how the armor shifts with even the smallest motion. A turn of the shoulders, a step forward, a breath drawn deeper than before. Everything feels slightly heavier, not overwhelming, but constant. A reminder that this is no longer training alone. Across the field, instructors begin to walk once more, their pace unchanged, their presence steady. They move among the men, observing quietly, watching how each one stands, how each one carries the added weight. There are no immediate correct irons, no sudden instructions, because this stage is not about precision. It is about familiarity, allowing the body to understand, to adapt, without force, without pressure. After a time, one of the instructors steps forward. He does not speak, he simply moves, a single step, slow, deliberate. The armor shifts slightly with the motion, a faint sound, leather tightening, metal settling, then another step, the same, controlled, balanced. He turns, gradually, the movement measured, ensuring that nothing is rushed, nothing is lost. The men watch, quietly, and then they begin, one by one. Step, pause, step, pause, the same rhythm as before, but now carried through weight. The difference is immediate. Where once movement was light, now it is grounded. Each step presses more firmly into the earth. Each shift of balance requires more attention, but the pace does not change. It remains slow, steady, unbroken. The field fills again with motion, but softer now, heavier. The sound of footsteps deeper, mixed with the quiet presence of equipment adjusting with every movement. A faint clink of metal, a soft pull of leather. Nothing sharp, nothing disruptive, only a layered rhythm that settles into something almost meditative. The instructors walk among them, making small adjustments. A strap tightened slightly, a helmet repositioned, a reminder given quietly, through gesture rather than words, because the goal is not to correct immediately, but to guide, to allow each man to find balance within the structure that has been given to him. The exercises expand, slowly, a turn to the left, a pause, a turn to the right, each movement deliberate, each repeated. The armor responds each time, settling differently, shifting in small ways, until it begins to feel less foreign, less separate, more integrated. The sword remains sheathed, untouched, its presence constant, but quiet, because for now, it is not meant to be used, only carried, only understood as part of the whole. Time passes, the sun moves steadily across the sky, the warmth of the day presses gently against the metal, warming it, changing its feel, ever so slightly, and still, the men move. Step, pause, turn, pause, the same sequence, repeated without variation, because through repetition, the unfamiliar becomes familiar, the weight becomes expected, the presence of armor, no longer a distraction, but a condition, a constant, that no longer requires thought. Gradually, something begins to shift, not in the equipment, not in the formation, but in the men themselves. Their posture changes, subtly, they stand a little more firmly, move a little more confidently. The hesitation that was present before begins to fade, replaced by quiet acceptance, because now they are not simply wearing armor, they are carrying it as part of themselves. The field reflects this change. What once appeared uneven, uncertain, now moves with greater consistency, not perfect, but closer, closer to unity, closer to alignment, closer to what will eventually become discipline. The instructors bring the movement to stillness once more, gradually, naturally. The final steps slow, and then stop. The field returns to quiet, but again, it is a different quiet, not the quiet of waiting, but the quiet of adaptation, of something learned, even if not fully understood. The men remain where they stand, their equipment resting with them, no longer shifting as much, no longer unfamiliar. There is no removal, no return to what came before, because from this moment forward, this is how they will exist, carrying weight, moving with purpose, bound by structure, and slowly becoming something more than they were. The sun begins its descent once again, light softens, shadows lengthen, and across the field, a new image settles into place, not individuals, not recruits, but the early form of soldiers, quiet, still, and steadily becoming Roman. The field rests in a quiet state of completion. The men stand in their places, their armor settled, their movements slower now, more deliberate, more certain. There is no need to repeat what has already been learned. For the moment, stillness is enough. The weight they carry is no longer unfamiliar. It has become part of them. And in this stillness, something else begins to emerge, not through motion, not through repetition, but through presence. At the far edge of the field, a small group approaches. Their number is not large. Their pace is steady, measured. They do not hurry. They do not call attention to themselves. And yet, as they draw closer, attention shifts toward them naturally, because these men are different, not in appearance alone, but in the way they carry themselves. Their posture is firm, their movements controlled, without hesitation, their gaze steady, focused, never wandering. These are not recruits, not instructors. These are officers, men who have already passed through the stages that now shape the others. Men who understand the system, not just as participants, but as guides. They move into position at the front of the field, not dramatically, not with ceremony, simply stepping into place, and stopping. The instructors acknowledge them, with subtle gestures, a nod, a shift in stance. Nothing more is needed, because recognition, in Rome, does not require display. It is understood. Among the officers, one stands slightly forward, not by command, not by declaration, but by presence. There is a stillness about him, a sense of control that does not need to be asserted. This is a centurion. Though no title is spoken, his role is clear. In the Roman army, the centurion is not distant. He is not removed from the men. He stands among them, leads them, shapes them, through consistency, through example, through expectation. He does not begin with a speech. He does not raise his voice. Instead, he observes. His gaze moves slowly across the field, taking in the formations, the posture, the alignment of each group. There is no visible reaction, no sign of approval or disapproval, only assessment, because understanding comes first, action comes later. Behind him, other officers take their positions, each aligned with a section of the field, each responsible for a portion of what is being formed. This is the beginning of hierarchy, not imposed suddenly, but revealed, gradually. The men feel it, even if it is not explained. They sense the difference, the presence of authority, calm, steady, unchanging. And with it, comes a subtle shift. Posture straightens, movements become more controlled, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Because in Rome, authority is not chaotic, it is structured, predictable, consistent. The centurion steps forward, just one step. The movement is small, but it draws focus. He turns slightly, aligning himself with the nearest group, and then, he moves. A simple action, a step forward, the same as before, but different now, because this movement is not demonstration alone. It is expectation. The men follow, immediately, without hesitation. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm returns. But now, it carries something more. Direction, purpose. The centurion walks among them, not watching from a distance, but present within the movement. His gaze attentive, his correct irons minimal, but precise. A slight adjustment of a shoulder, a brief gesture to correct spacing. Nothing exaggerated, nothing repeated loudly, because his authority does not depend on volume. It depends on consistency, on presence. Across the field, the other officers do the same, each guiding their assigned group, each maintaining the same rhythm, the same pace, the same expectation. This is how the Roman army functions, not through chaos, not through individual decision, but through layers, each level connected to the one above and below, each part fulfilling its role, without deviation. without interruption. Time passes slowly, the sun continues its path, the field remains calm, but now, it is directed. Movement is no longer simply repetition. It is controlled repetition, guided, refined, shaped by those who understand its purpose. The men respond to this structure naturally. They do not question it. They do not resist it, because by now, they are ready for it. They have been prepared, step by step, to accept this guidance, to function within it, to become part of it. The centurion pauses. The movement slows, then stops. The field returns to stillness, but once again, it is a different stillness, one that carries awareness, that carries structure, that carries the quiet understanding that each man now belongs, not just to a group, but to a command. And as the light begins to soften, as the day moves gently toward evening, the system settles into place, not loudly, not dramatically, but completely, and from this point forward, everything will follow it. The stillness that follows is not empty, it holds shape, it holds direction. The men remain where they stand, but now, their positions carry meaning, not random, not temporary, but assigned, defined. Across the field, the officers do not withdraw, they remain in place, their presence steady, unchanging, like fixed points within a larger design. Because now, the structure must be understood, not through explanation, but through arrangement. The centurion steps back slightly, not retreating, but allowing the wider system to become visible. Behind him, other figures begin to take form, men who stand between levels, not as prominent, not as central, but essential. These are the layers beneath command, the connections that link one group to another. In the Roman army, nothing exists alone. Every unit is part of a larger whole, and every man is part of a unit. The groups that formed during selection now begin to settle into clearer divisions, clusters of men, standing in closer alignment, their spacing more deliberate, their boundaries more defined. These are the beginnings of centuries, though no name is spoken. The shape is unmistakable, roughly ordered, carefully arranged, each one a small body within the larger force. Within these groups, subtle distinctions appear. One man stands slightly forward, another near the center, a few positioned along the edges. Their roles are not yet announced, but their placement suggests purpose, responsibility, connection, because leadership in Rome does not always begin with words. It begins with position, with proximity, with expectation. The centurion moves again, slowly, deliberately, walking along the front of one of these forming units. His presence alone is enough to guide attention. The men within the group adjust, almost unconsciously. Their alignment becomes tighter, their stillness more focused. This is discipline, in its early form, not enforced, not demanded, but emerging from awareness, from observation, from the quiet pressure of expectation. The officers beneath him begin to act, not independently, but in harmony, each one responsible for a smaller part, each one ensuring that their section remains aligned, consistent, steady. They do not raise their voices, they do not correct loudly, instead, they move through the lines, making small adjustments, a step closer, a slight shift in spacing, a gesture, brief, precise. The men respond immediately, without hesitation, because by now, the system has taken hold. There is no confusion, no uncertainty about who leads and who follows. It is understood, felt, embedded in the structure itself. The field now reflects something new, not just organization, but hierarchy, layers of responsibility, each level supporting the next, each part connected, forming a chain that runs through the entire force. And within this chain, every man has a place, every man has a position that links him to others, above, beside, below. This is what gives the Roman army its strength, not just training, not just equipment, but order, a system that allows movement without chaos, action without confusion. The centurion stops once more, turning slowly to face the full field. For a moment, everything is still. The men stand in their units, the officers in their positions, the structure complete, though newly formed. Then, a single motion. The centurion raises his hand, not high, not dramatically, just enough to be seen. and then, he lowers it. Nothing else. No words, no command. And yet, across the field, a response. The men shift, slightly, adjusting their stance, aligning more closely with one another. The units tighten. The structure refines itself, in silence. This is obedience. Not loud, not forced, but immediate, natural, because it has been built, step by step, through everything that came before, the training, the repetition, the placement, all of it leading to this moment, where action follows intention, without delay. Time passes. Slowly, the sun lowers further, light softens across the field, but the structure does not fade. It holds, stable, consistent, because now, it exists not just in position, but in understanding. The men know where they belong, they know who stands above them, they know who stands beside them, and in that knowledge, there is clarity, a quiet sense of order, that removes uncertainty, that replaces hesitation with readiness. The officers begin to withdraw slightly, not leaving, but stepping back into their roles, allowing the system to stand on its own, because this is the goal, not dependence, but function, a structure that continues, even without constant guidance. The field returns to stillness once more, but now, it is complete, not as a finished army, but as a functioning one, a body that can move, when directed, that can act, as a single entity, made of many parts. And as the final light of day begins to fade, as shadows stretch long across the ground, the shape of Rome's power stands quietly in place, ordered, disciplined, ready, and waiting for the next step. The morning returns once more. Soft light stretches across the field, touching rows of men who now stand in quiet formation. There is no need for instruction. No signal is given, and yet, something is about to begin. The structure that has been formed, the discipline that has been built, now prepares to move. For a time, everything remains still. The men stand in their units, their armor settled, their equipment resting against them, no longer unfamiliar. The officers take their positions, not at random, but exactly where they belong, at the front, along the sides, within the formation itself, each one placed with intention, because movement, in the Roman army, is never without structure. The centurion steps forward, just as before, calm, measured. He does not speak, he does not call out, he simply begins, one step forward, firm, controlled, and then another. Behind him, the first row follows, without hesitation, without delay. The movement spreads, row by row, unit by unit, until the entire formation begins to advance. Slowly, steadily, the first steps are deliberate, careful, each man aware of the others around him, maintaining spacing, maintaining alignment. There is no rushing to find pace. The pace is already set, carried forward from training, embedded through repetition. The sound of movement begins to fill the air, not loud, not overwhelming, but constant, a soft rhythm of footsteps, pressing into the earth, rising again, pressing once more. The weight of armor adds depth to each step, a grounded sound, steady, predictable. The field begins to empty, not suddenly, but gradually, as the formation moves forward, leaving behind the place where it was formed. The road ahead is simple, a worn path, shaped by years of travel, stretching forward without interruption. The column adjusts naturally, from wide formation, into a more narrow line, each unit aligning behind the one before it. The officers guide this shift, not with commands, but with presence, a gesture, a slight repositioning, and the formation responds, because now, the system moves as one. The march settles into rhythm, step, 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 no pause, no break, just continuous motion, the same pace, the same distance between each step, maintained without thought, because it has been practiced, again and again. The men do not speak, there is no conversation, only movement, only the quiet sound of the march. The sun rises higher, light spreads across the road, illuminating the long line of soldiers as they move forward. Dust lifts gently beneath their feet, carried upward, then drifting back down. Never enough to obscure, only enough to soften the edges of movement. The landscape passes slowly, fields, trees, low hills in the distance, None of it changes quickly, none of it demands attention, because the focus remains within the formation, on the rhythm, on the alignment, on the steady continuation of movement. The officers walk among the ranks, their pace matched perfectly to the march. They observe, they adjust, a slight correction in spacing, a subtle shift in direction, nothing that disrupts the flow, only small refinements, ensuring that the structure remains intact. Time begins to stretch. The repetition of movement creates a sense of continuity where moments blend together. Step follows step, without interruption, without variation. And in this, there is calm, because nothing unexpected occurs, nothing changes suddenly. The body continues, the mind follows. The march becomes almost effortless, not because it is easy, but because it is consistent. The weight remains, the armor presses, the equipment shifts slightly with each step, but these sensations are no longer distractions. They are part of the rhythm, part of the experience, part of what it means to move as a Roman soldier. The column extends further along the road, a long, continuous line, each unit connected to the next, each man part of a larger whole. There is no clear beginning, no visible end, only movement, steady, unbroken. The sun begins its slow journey across the sky, and still, they march, without pause, without hesitation, because this is what they have been prepared for, not just to stand, not just to train, but to move, together, as one. And as the road continues forward, stretching into the distance, without urgency, without interruption, the march continues. The sun climbs slowly, its warmth spreads evenly across the road, casting long, soft shadows behind the columns of men. The march continues, step by step, footfall after footfall. The sound is steady, hypnotic, a soft drumbeat echoing across the countryside. Each man carries his armor, each man carries his weapons, each man carries himself. With the quiet attention born of training and repetition, the pace is slow, deliberate, not forced, not hurried, but unwavering. Across the columns, officers maintain position, their presence constant, silent guidance flowing through every rank. A slight adjustment here, a subtle shift there, never abrupt, always measured. The rhythm deepens, the road stretches forward, flat in some places, uneven in others. But the steps remain steady, step, step, step. The weight of shields and swords presses gently against the body, reminding the soldiers of their role, not a burden, but a constant, a part of the pattern of the march. The men begin to notice subtle variations, how the armor feels with each step, how the leather straps shift slightly as they lift a leg, how the sword rests against the hip, moving in quiet tandem with the rhythm of walking. Each sensation integrates into the pattern. No thought is required, no words are spoken, only the soft, constant motion. Across the road, dust rises faintly from the repeated footfalls, and drifts back down, softening the edges of the scene. The officers remain calm, attentive. One lifts a hand, a gentle gesture, to adjust spacing. The column shifts imperceptibly, perfect alignment restored, without breaking the rhythm. Step, step, step. Hours pass, time begins to blur, moments fold into each other. The march continues, no excitement, no rush, only continuous movement, across open fields, along gentle slopes, past distant trees. The soldiers move as one, the body adapts, the mind follows. Each step becomes a part of the soldier's internal rhythm. The repeated motion becomes almost meditative. The weight of armor, once unfamiliar, now integrated. The sword, the shield, the straps, all absorbed into the pattern of walking. Even breathing adjusts. Long, calm, steady. Step in, step out, step in, step out. The road stretches endlessly. The sun dips slightly, warmth softening into afternoon light. Still, the march continues. The columns flow forward. No individual stands out. No movement is rushed. All is coordinated. All is calm. All is rhythmic. And in this repetition, something more than physical endurance is built. Focus, awareness, discipline. The men become attuned to themselves, to each other, to the slow, controlled motion of the unit as a whole. The officers guide, without speaking, their presence enough to maintain order. Every minor adjustment absorbed seamlessly, the soundscape remained soothing. Footsteps, soft metal, shifting leather, distant birds. Nothing sharp, nothing jarring. The environment blends with the rhythm. Time continues to stretch. Uninterrupted, unbroken, steady. The march is not over. It is continuous. Step, 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 step. And as the sun slowly tilts toward evening, casting long shadows across the road, the soldiers, the officers, the rhythm, all continue, unified, calm, enduring, moving as one body, toward a purpose, toward readiness, toward becoming Roman. The columns reach a clearing. The march has ended for now. The soldiers stand in formation, their movements slower, more deliberate, yet still carrying the weight of the day. Soft light filters through the trees. The shadows stretch across the earth. A faint wind brushes over the tents being set up. There is no rush, no urgency, only the quiet work of settling. The officers move among the men, not commanding, not shouting, but observing, guiding, ensuring each tent is placed properly. Each unit occupies the right space. Each formation remains orderly. The men begin to move in small groups, carrying poles, carrying canvas, adjusting pegs, folding and lifting. Every motion is measured, deliberate, gentle, repetitive. A tent is raised, the canvas stretched over poles, secured with rope, stakes pressed into the ground. Each action performed slowly, carefully, deliberately. The soldiers repeat these steps over and over, setting one tent, then another, until the pattern becomes familiar. The sound is soft, wood tapping, canvas brushing, ropes pulled tight, the rustle of cloth against the earth, even breathing of the men, deep, steady, synchronized. Inside some tents, belongings are arranged, weapons cleaned, armor laid out, belts aligned, everything in its place, nothing rushed, everything calm. There is a quiet rhythm to camp life. Even the fire preparation follows it. Small bundles of wood are gathered, arranged carefully, kindling laid neatly. A single spark ignites a small flame. The fire grows slowly, warmth spreads gently, the smell of smoke mixes with the fresh air. Meals are prepared, simple, measured, quiet. Men move in coordinated steps, pouring water, breaking bread, cooking over the fire. All actions deliberate. Even the smallest motions are repeated, until they feel automatic. A quiet order settles over the camp. The tents, the fires, the soldiers, all move together in unspoken harmony. The centurion observes, not intervening, simply present, ensuring that the daily routine maintains its calm structure. The men begin to rest briefly. Some sit on the ground, some adjust their armor, some stretch slowly. The pace is gentle, allowing the body to recover from the march, yet the rhythm of discipline remains, because even in rest, the system continues. Even in silence, there is order. Soft conversation occurs, measured, calm, almost like background noise. The camp breathes with the soldiers, step by step, task by task. Fire crackles softly, wood shifts gently, the tents sway slightly in the wind. Everything moves in slow, coordinated rhythm. The evening approaches, light softens further, shadows deepen, the camp settles into itself, a quiet meditation of structure, discipline, and gentle routine. And as the day fades fully, the soldiers lie down in their tents, armor removed, belts set aside, helmets resting quietly. The long day of marching and training drifts behind them. Only the steady rhythm of breathing and the faint sounds of camp life remain. The soldiers sleep, not hurriedly, not unprepared, but calm, orderly, ready, their bodies and minds synchronized with the gentle pattern of the day. Darkness settles over the camp. The tents stand quietly, lined in precise rows. Faint embers glow in small fires, casting soft, shifting light across the ground. The soldiers move slowly, deliberately, even in this dim light. Some carry water to extinguish small flames. Others adjust the tent flaps. Ropes are checked, poles straightened. Everything is small, calm, repetitive. The centurion walks among the units, not to command, not to rush, but to observe, to ensure the rhythm of order continues. Occasionally, a soldier lifts a helmet, brushes dust off the leather. then sets it carefully aside. Belts are aligned. Swords are laid parallel to the bedrolls. Armor rests in the exact same pattern night after night. A few soldiers move quietly to the watch posts, their footsteps soft, controlled. Each step measured. Step, step, step. The rhythm flows across the camp. Even movement becomes a part of the quiet meditation. The wind rustles through the trees, softly, gently, mixing with the faint crackle of embers, the subtle shifting of canvas, the quiet scraping of sandals on earth. A symphony of calm, repetitive motion. Inside the tents, some soldiers lie down, bodies stretched, muscles relaxing, breathing slows. The day's exertion fades into the calm of night. In the background, officers move silently, adjusting, observing, guiding. No words, only gestures, small, precise, almost imperceptible, maintaining the discipline of the camp without disruption. As hours pass, the night deepens. The rhythm continues, step by step, task by task, breath by breath. Before dawn, the camp begins its gentle preparation. Some men rise quietly, water is poured, meals prepared slowly, tents are adjusted once more, armor checked, weapons brushed, every action deliberate, repetition comforting, predictable. The centurion oversees the motions. Everything flows together in quiet coordination. The camp functions as a single organism, each soldier part of a gentle, consistent rhythm. The soft sounds of movement, leather, wood, and distant fire, blend into a soothing pattern. Step, pull, adjust, brush, breath, step. The day prepares to begin again, but the calm persists, and as the first light of morning edges over the horizon, the soldiers stand ready, their bodies rested, their minds steady, their rhythm aligned with the quiet pulse of the camp. The field is alive, but calm, orderly, predictable, and the men, the early forms of Roman soldiers, are ready for another day, another step, another repetition. Step, step, step. The camp breathes slowly, the soldiers sleep in cycles of calm vigilance, and the cycle of preparation, repetition, and gentle discipline continues. The sun is low. The soldiers step onto a flat clearing, the site for the night's camp. Their pace is steady, measured, calm, no haste, no disorder. The officers move ahead, surveying the land. Small rises, shallow dips, and the edges of the clearing are noted. The centurion gestures with a subtle nod. A silent signal, begin. Men break into small groups. Some carry stakes, some carry wooden poles, some handle the canvas and rope. Each motion deliberate. Step, lift, position, pull. The rhythm is hypnotic, repetition calming. The first line of stakes is driven into the ground. Leather mallets strike slowly, softly, without haste. Canvas is stretched over the framework, tightly, evenly, secure. Each tent is positioned with precision. No tent too close, no tent too far. The spacing is consistent, perfectly aligned. The soldiers work in silence, occasional soft instructions, but mostly gestures, hands pointing, a slight adjustment. The ground is cleared, stones shifted aside, brush swept neatly into piles. Small fires are built in designated areas, embers placed carefully, wood arranged to maximize warmth and minimize smoke. The men carry water from nearby streams. Buckets tilt slowly, pouring water into troughs or extinguishing stray sparks. Even the smallest task is performed with intention. No motion wasted, no hurried step. The centurion walks among them, observing, adjusting, aligning, each man guided subtly, his work refined without interruption of the rhythm. Step, lift, place, pull. Tent after tent rises, stakes pressed into the earth, canvas stretched taut. Ropes tied, knots checked. The soldiers repeat each action. Repetition becomes meditation. The mind slows as the body performs. Dust rises softly with each step. Wood creaks gently. Leather shifts quietly. The air carries only these soft, repetitive sounds. Evening light falls. Shadows lengthen. The camp takes shape, a small city of tents, fires, and orderly paths. Each soldier knows his place. Each tool knows its use. Each motion flows seamlessly into the next. By the time the last tent is raised, the camp is complete, lined straight, spaces organized, fires ready, water at hand. The men step back, bodies slightly tired, minds at ease. They have built not just a shelter, but a system, a foundation for discipline, a place where rhythm, repetition, and calm carry through the night. And the centurion observes quietly. The order of the camp reflects the order of the army, everything in its place, everything ready. The soldiers move through the camp slowly, checking equipment, adjusting ropes, stirring fires, each motion deliberate, each breath deep and steady. By nightfall, the camp is alive, but calm, a small, orderly city of soldiers at rest. Step, pull, adjust, breathe, repeat. The rhythm of Roman discipline flows through the earth itself, and as the soldiers settle, the calm of construction lingers, a gentle, consistent meditation, a preparation for whatever comes next. The first tents stand tall, aligned in neat rows. The camp has form, but not yet function. The centurion gestures quietly, a signal. Now comes the finishing work. Groups move toward the edges of the clearing. Small trenches are dug. Shovels press rhythmically into the earth. Dig, lift, move, press, step by step, slow, deliberate. The soil is turned evenly. Rows of earth form a subtle barrier, a foundation for palisades. Next, stakes are positioned carefully. Wooden posts are driven into the ground. Leather straps and rope bind them together. The soft thud of mallets, the gentle scrape of rope, the slight shifting of wood, all become a meditative pattern. The soldiers carry supplies from the wagons: grain, water, tools, weapons, armor, each item placed precisely in its designated space. No rush, no disorder. Buckets are filled slowly. Water flows gently into troughs. Fires are stirred to maintain warmth. Cooking utensils cleaned and set in order. Each action is repeated. Lift, move, place, adjust, step, step, step. The rhythm continues, steady, hypnotic, like a heartbeat across the camp. Some men carry sandbags, positioning them along vulnerable points. Others adjust tent flaps to catch the evening breeze. Some lay mats and sleeping gear inside the tents. Every motion flows seamlessly into the next. The centurion walks the perimeter, observing, adjusting, aligning. A slight gesture here, a small nod there. No words raised. The order is maintained silently, calmly. Then the guards take their posts. Soft footsteps on earth. Shift of weight. Breath steady. Rotation ensures the camp remains secure. Each watch moves with measured steps. Rhythmic, almost hypnotic. The men rotate silently between tasks. Checking fires, organizing supplies, reinforcing barriers. Each repetition reinforces the calm discipline of the day. Evening deepens. The fires glow softly. Shadows stretch across the trenches. Tents sway gently in the breeze. The soldiers move as one body. Step, lift, adjust, repeat. Breath in sync with motion. The camp itself seems alive, but calm, orderly, restful. By nightfall, every corner of the camp is prepared. Defense is complete. Supplies organized. Fires lit. Smoke rising softly into the sky. The soldiers settle into their tents, armor set aside, helmets rested, weapons aligned, each man ready for sleep or for the quiet watch that follows. The centurion observes one last time. Everything in its place, everything functioning. The rhythm of construction has carried through to completion. Step, pull, adjust, breathe, repeat. And now the camp stands fully formed, a small, ordered world within the wilderness. Safe, calm, disciplined, a perfect balance of preparation and quiet. The soldiers lie down. Breathing slows. The gentle pulse of the camp continues in soft, repetitive motions, a lullaby of discipline and order, carrying them toward rest, toward calm, toward the quiet night that follows. On a morning when the mist still clings to the fields, from a distance, the earth is not empty. There is movement, shadows shifting across the ground. A slow, purposeful wave, rising and falling. Closer now, and the first shapes emerge. Men, hundreds, thousands, rows upon rows, stretching farther than the eye can follow. The armor catches the light of dawn. Bronze and iron glint softly, like rippling water under the sun. Helmets shine, shields polished and patterned. Weapons carried with care, yet ready, each spear held at a precise angle, each banner rising above its unit, swaying gently in the breeze. The scale is staggering. Cohorts stand aligned. Centuries form perfect blocks. The rhythm of their breath, the quiet shifting of weight, the subtle brushing of metal against metal. It is a sound both soft and constant, like the pulse of the earth itself. And yet, the grandness is not just in numbers. It is in precision, in discipline, in unity. A single man steps forward, the centurion. His presence commands no shout, no declaration. And yet, all attention flows toward him naturally. Each soldier knows their place. Each knows the rhythm of the army. And from this understanding emerges something more than movement, a living organism. Step, step, step. The line moves as one. Not mechanical, not forced, but perfect in synchronization. A flowing wave of human form, metal, leather, and strength. The banners flutter, each representing a legion. Symbols of Rome, painted, embroidered, held aloft. They mark the units with pride, history, and purpose. From a distance, the colors ripple like rivers across the field. Red, gold, deep blues and greens. Each color precise, each symbol known. The shields, locked in formation, form a sea of bronze. Polished, round, almost fluid in their alignment. A shield wall stretches endlessly, its sheer scale creating a quiet awe. A sense that this is not just an army, but a force of civilization itself made visible. The horses of the cavalry shift in the background, muscles tensing and relaxing, hooves pressing the earth. Armor clinks softly against flanks, lances rise and lower. They are calm, obedient, disciplined, part of the grand pattern, part of the whole. The foot soldiers shift in formation, a step forward, a turn to the right, a spear raised, a shield adjusted. Movements repeated slowly, deliberately, not chaotic, not hurried. Every action synchronized, flowing into the next. From above, the field is a tapestry. Lines of red and bronze intersecting, interwoven with the green of the earth, the soft brown of soil, and the faint gold of morning light. It is a living mosaic of human order. Walking along the front line, one feels the weight of history, the discipline of generations, the echoes of battles long past. The silent knowledge that this formation could move, fight, survive, endure. Even the smallest details contribute to the majesty. The way a helmet strap rests against the chin, the slight sheen of oil on armor, the disciplined posture of every soldier, the exact spacing between each man in the line. It is not intimidating in the chaotic sense. It is calm, controlled, quietly overwhelming. A sense that power is not loud or reckless. It is precise. It is organized. It is visible in the rhythm of human bodies moving as one. The centurions walk among the soldiers, adjusting, observing, present yet not intrusive. The officers maintain perfect alignment of the units. Every cohort, every century, every man, a single, integral part of a vast, cohesive whole. From the perspective of someone standing at the edge of the field, the air itself seems to hum with anticipation. The ground vibrates softly under the rhythm of thousands of synchronized steps. The sound is neither jarring nor harsh. It is constant, meditative, grounding. One begins to notice the unity in small things. The way the sunlight glances off polished armor, the subtle movements of the banners, the rhythmic motion of spears rising and lowering, the quiet shifting of the earth beneath marching feet. The Roman army is grand not only because of its size, but because of the human precision it embodies. Every movement purposeful, every position meaningful, every man, a part of the whole. And when the sun rises fully, glinting off shields and helmets, casting shadows behind rows of disciplined men, the army appears to breathe as one, not through speech, not through sound, but through structure, repetition, and calm. It is awe-inspiring, not in terror, not in chaos, but in quiet perfection. A living testament to order, to discipline, to human endurance and purpose. Standing before it, one feels a gentle, meditative reverence. The mind slows, the heart settles, the body relaxes, because to witness a Roman army, in full alignment, in motion, in stillness, is to witness a living, breathing embodiment of control, repetition, and rhythm. The banners sway, the shields gleam, the soldiers breathe in quiet unison. the earth holds the imprint of their feet, the air carries the subtle pulse of synchronized movement. It is grand, it is calm, it is eternal in memory, and in this vision, the observer drifts into the rhythm, into the calm, into the steady, hypnotic heartbeat of Rome itself. The army stands, ready, the earth holds its presence, the light softens, shadows lengthen, and the silent, magnificent order of human discipline lingers, carrying the mind toward rest, toward stillness, toward sleep.